Welcome back to Restoring Sean and the kickoff video to Christmas here at the estate. Over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to take you through 4 Christmas-themed episodes, starting right now with decorating here at the estate. Next week, we follow up with the first of 2 how-to videos, that one being how to create a gingerbread village out of cardboard and hot glue, wrapping up the week before Christmas with how to decorate a Christmas tree and go absolutely and probably stupidly over the top like I did. If you're new to the channel, I post a new video every Wednesday morning where I'm typically showcasing the work I've done on one of my houses, but for the month of December, I'm getting overzealous like Clark Griswold trying to make a good old-fashioned Christmas without, turning into...
Take a look around you, Ellen! We're at the threshold of hell!
Please enjoy this special presentation of Restoring Sean. Let's get started. Whoa, me again. You might be asking yourself right now if I know how to do math properly, because 4 episodes in 3 weeks implies that something might be a bit off. But that is because today's episode is actually 2 separate episodes. You see, when I cut together the decorating for Halloween video, I did it based off of like 23 hours of footage, and because I wanted to get it down to under 30 minutes or, like 30 minutes on the button, I ended up sacrificing a lot of what I shot and having to do time lapses, which meant that I was eliminating audio that I had recorded, tips and tricks and all those things, and I didn't want that to happen here. Now, the bonus with here is that I do not have 23 hours of footage, but in the rough form, it was still an hour long, and I didn't want anybody to sit through an hour because you might have things to do, or you might just not care that much, and that's okay. And if you're watching this right now at 6 a.m. when it posted, do not worry, because by the time it is done, Part 2 will be posted as well. So you're welcome, and I'm sorry. On November 1st, I'm typically taking Halloween down and putting Christmas up immediately after. It's just in my blood. It's part of it, I think, is because I spent 19 holiday seasons in retail, and in retail, Christmas really starts in like mid-October. And I fully intended on doing that this year, but there was a difference compared to years past, which is that Halloween this year became so big, there was no way I was going to be able to do it all in one day. While I indeed took down the bulk of the decorations on November 1st, I had actually started almost a full week earlier, right after the Halloween party. The Halloween party that I hosted was a tremendous success, but the insane display I made at the center of the kitchen, which was a multi-level production of cauldrons and 37 different types of candy and mini bottles of liquor and lights and glow sticks and foliage and leaves and on and on. It was just too much to handle, and I needed a clean working space in the house. On its own, taking the kitchen down took me 15 hours. And that's because, my darlings, taking Halloween down this year meant meticulously removing it from where it was, organizing it in the kitchen, putting it into the 15 totes that I now have, as opposed to the 5 that I started the season with, labeling everything, organizing it in those totes by theme, or I think there are 3 totes that are just for electrics, which is string lights and you name it, anything that plugs in. But once it was all put away and stored in the basement, I am almost done putting Halloween away, and every time I go downstairs, I come up with Christmas. So November 1st, by the time I had finished putting everything away, it was time to clean. The thing that they don't tell you in these videos is that when you decorate a space, sometimes 2 months in advance, as I did for Halloween or as I'm doing for Christmas, you set these things, you finesse them, you make sure that they're perfect, and then you don't want to touch them again. You don't want anybody to touch them because it is just so. And maybe you're not ready to film it yet. You're just getting it set so that you can move along to the next space and then, come back and polish it afterward. But the thing with that logic is that for me, specifically here, the month of September, I had the windows open on the house almost the whole month. And then most of October, the windows were open. And that allows a whole number of things. Dust to come in. If I was leaf blowing outside, that dust was in. And the dust settles on the things that are made to look spooky. But Christmas shouldn't look spooky or dusty. It needs to look clean and polished and shiny. So when Halloween came down, I needed to deep clean anything and everything that I possibly could. It just was not going to be possible to decorate for Christmas on that same day. Now, last year I hosted a Christmas party and Christmas here at the estate. I was hosting Christmas for my family because a large portion was going to be out of state for the holiday. So we were doing it a day early, and then I figured why not have this Christmas party because I had already decorated. Now, last year was a challenge in and of itself because your first year in a house decorating is kind of tricky because you're taking the things that you already have and you're trying to make them work in a way that makes sense. But clearly, because this house is so much larger than my previous homes, I needed to amp it up. I needed to get more stuff. So I did. I spent a lot of money last year on things for the house. Now, flashing forward to this year, in my mind, I had all this stuff. I had all this stuff in the basement. It wasn't put away very well. It was just down there in my 4 Christmas totes. But from those 4 totes, as I pulled everything out on November 2nd, I realized I did not have a lot that was going to create any kind of an impact for you guys watching this. And in the end, about 80% of all of the decorations that I had in the house last year ended up in the living room, which meant that everything else needed to be new. That meant a lot of garland this year. Too much garland, but I love it. It's beautiful, but you'll see in just a moment. So today in part 1 of decorating for Christmas, we are going to be working outside. We're going to get the enclosed front porch finished. We're going to finish the living room and the stairwell. The stairwell was a big one because last year it did not exist in its current form. Last year it was just a mess of a project where I ripped the ceiling down in October and then didn't touch it again until March. So a lot of opportunity with that. And then in part 2 of the video, we're going to see the parlor, the tree in my office, the kitchen, and then final looks both at day and at night. You can of course skip ahead or wait for part 2, but why would you want to do that? I think we all love sitting here with me talking. And on that note, let's get started and go outside. So I bought all this garland last year. I love it. But when I bought the house, it did not have a railing on the balcony because the balcony was not at the time built to hold people. It wasn't supported that way, so I got that fixed when I got my new roof. And then this summer I put the railing on, but last year I had to attach the garland just to the gutters on the front of the porch, and luckily I don't have to do that again. It's been raining quite a bit, so I haven't been able to do this, but there's like a brief moment now where the sun's coming out and it's just a drizzle, a trickle if you will. So I'm gonna hustle and get this done. Oh gosh. Okay. Here we go. When I'm attaching lights to garland, and maybe this isn't like big news to anyone, but when I'm doing lights on garland, I like to put, like for this, it's 2 sets of garland, 1 strand of lights. I like to get my, beginning end connected first, and then I will take the very end of it and put it at the end. And then I know what I have to work with, so I'll like start in the middle and start tucking along that way, and then I don't come up short at the end or end up having too much at the end that, I end up having to double back and then it's brighter at one end than the other. So that's my little tip on that. Then I'm going to fluff the garland as I work my way through it so that it's real as big and happy looking as it can be. And then I will work the lights in around that. And like every foot or so, I like to wrap a little piece of the garland around the lights just in case the wind comes and like blows anything loose. I have never fluffed this garland in my life, and now that I look at it, that's very problematic for every winter it's been through. So because I had not ever fluffed this, it was pretty filthy over the years. So what I did was from the top center, I started spreading the branches left and right. So it looked like they were kind of emerging in that direction. And I really like how it ended up looking. Next year, I will need to replace the lights on this thing because they're old LED. And from a distance, they have kind of a yellowy green tint to them that I don't find very appealing, and I can use them somewhere else. So those will get replaced. But I really liked how it looked fluffed. I feel so silly that I never did this or knew to do this, but this is how we learn, and it's never too late. And then I bought all this black velvet with the wire in it that I could use outside, and I thought that would tie in nicely with the trim on my house on the roof because that's all, everything's black and green outside. So I made this bow, and when I attached it, I also pinned it into the branches so that the, tendrils of the bow would stay that way and not get blown around by the wind. And it's been a month and they are still there, so I must have done it right. I got this garland specifically to be for outside. I was going to put it at the front of the house and then thought it looked a little too cheap, so I elected to move it back here. This garland is trash. This is like shit garland from Menards. And it was $10 a strand, so it's not like it was like, bargain den. I mean, it's not the most expensive garland in the house, but still, you'd think it would be a little bit better than this. See? It just falls off. So it's been a week since I started, and the house is a mess, and it's been quite the week because it's the first week of November, so without saying why, I think you know. And I am not doing great at this right now. I do feel like I'm in the semi-final stretch, but today is going to be a day of spray painting these outdoor things that I don't know if I'll end up using outdoors, but I do have a plan for them. So I need to, it just comes off. Well, that's good. So these all need to be stripped down. That was easy. Take this off. These are all going to be spray painted black on the inside and then brass on the outside. And then I have some rub and buff to put on them to kind of age them up a little bit. And they will be attached to garland somewhere. Probably outside. There's this shape, and then I've got these ones. And I was looking for them dirt cheap, because apparently last year you could find them dirt cheap. This year I could not, and so I ended up finding them at, oh yeah, it's just hot glue. All right. I ended up finding them at Menards, and I think it was like, let's look at the price tag. It's not on there. That's helpful. It was like $6 for two. Anyway, so I've got to spray paint all these. I totally forgot that I had this little gun thing that Rust-Oleum makes for your spray cans, and my hand was killing me. So let's do this. I've been wearing a mask the whole time, and it's probably not the right mask to be wearing for this, and I can tell because I am pretty high off of all the paint fumes, so this is it for the day, and I'm gonna go inside, and that's it. The plan with the front porch was basically to reuse everything that I used for my main Christmas tree last year on the fake tree that I put out on the front porch. And that was all very woodland Christmas themed. Here goes nothing, hot dog. I wanted to suspend this garland with fishing line, but I had no idea what I was doing and how I was going to do it, and it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Good Lord. I don't know, you guys. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Just a little bit more. I think we're good. Ugh. Eventually that was done though. I got the tree set up, and then, it was getting dark outside. I had Harry Potter on. I wanted to be in the house and just start working on other stuff because I was cold and my fingers were numb, and that's just the way it goes in the Midwest.
A few moments later.
I don't want to say how many moments, but it was not the next day. I'll say that. I think the only time you're ever going to find me hanging stuff with words on it is at Christmas time, because I'm not that person. These are my favorite ornaments that I own. Got them from, you guessed it, Pottery Barn. They're these glass Mercury ornaments, and they had them the 1 year. I don't think they ever had them again. And this is from like maybe 2013, but I love them. Last year when I bought this garland, it was for the balcony outside, but I had an extra piece, so I used it here in the living room on this mirror that I didn't add anything to it. It was just the garland. So this year, putting the Mercury ornaments on it had a really neat side effect, which was the mirror reflecting them. And obviously that's what mirrors do, but I really liked how it looked coming into the room because it just kind of amped up how many there were and made it look a little bit more interesting than it was. And then, of course, some fairy lights in it just kind of brought that together as well. I like to use the garland to tie around things so they don't go flying off the shelf and infuriating me. Going for some red and green books on here just to kind of stay with the theme of things. And then my dad built this console for me last year ahead of Christmas, but I hadn't really done anything with it. So this year, added some garland, some of my nostalgic pieces that I have, and then this container that I filled with faux snow and cranberries, which you can never have too many faux cranberries, in my opinion. And then to decorate the rest of the space, there's a vase with some amaryllis in it, faux fur throw that you don't want it to look too perfect. You gotta crunch it up a little bit to make it look lived in. And then pillows. And I arguably have too many pillows, but that's for me to think and you to decide, I guess. And then for my coffee table, it's usually the same kind of vibe, but I like to cluster some candles, get a few botanicals in there, a little vase, my coasters with my initial on them, and then beads. And this year I opted to do 2 different sizes of beads just to create a little bit more intrigue on that. So the challenge today is these hooks that I have that I hung the skeletons from for Halloween. I have all of this garland. There's a lot of it. It's like 23 feet, I think, of this garland. I want it kind of like swooped down the stairs, but I can't hang it from the hooks itself because it's too high up and you really can't see it. So I have so much of this kind of garnet colored ribbon. So I think what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna try is I tied these little loops at the top. I'm gonna try and connect these at the top on the hooks, and then I'll have it hanging down enough to like start this, I don't know, yay high, and then the next one will go lower and lower so it's kind of down the stairs. And I need it high enough, or low enough, excuse me, that I can still add other elements to the garland to kind of beef it up. Let's see how that goes. Where's that thing? What's behind me? I'm also new to working with this kind of garland, this kind of, I don't know, Norfolk pine, I guess. And you'll see in the gingerbread video that I had some issues figuring out how to style it. Oh, yes. Okay. I got some good scissors too, you guys. These are serious ones that would maim or injure. We're just gonna loop it into a little knot, and then I'll add bows and stuff later. Get ya going here, huh? You feel the blood rushing out of my arms. Oh, got it. Okay. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to take the top piece that I started with and move it higher up to the drapery rod, just because there's too much garland for it to be the way it is now, because it's gonna swoop too much, and I don't want too much of a swoop, if you catch my drift. So this one is like here, and then that one is like, that is infinitely more tolerable than what it's gonna look like before. So I'm gonna bend that. Okay. This is pretty great. Step one is just get it up. This is the same garland that I've got in the kitchen, in the window, the real good stuff. So I gotta kind of take my time, and I've got to plan it out because I can't get more of it because they are sold out for the season. So, that's life. Okay. So we've got our beginning and our end, and I know I want the end to be drapey. And I'm gonna use my leg to hold that. Nope, that's not gonna work. So if that's like that, I'm thinking swooshing two parts like that one is up there. You're probably watching this right now and you're like, that doesn't look good. And then I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna go, that doesn't look good. But this is where we're at. Okay, so I decided on what I'm gonna do. So I have 2 spools of this garnet ribbon, which is what I tied everything with. And I think I'm just gonna weave it through. That's gonna be the garland. I'm gonna do some, bows at these. I have got a couple little berry picks that I might do under the bow. We'll see how that looks. And then I do have a couple leftover like berry picks like this that I can probably weave in there too. And then finally I had all these bells from last year and I retied them with the green ribbon, and I didn't want like red overload on this. So I think just hanging these at varied heights. The brown pulls in there. It's a little bit of a darker green, but I think that's perfect. I mean, I think those will look super cute. And I wanted them longer because I didn't want them like, nestled up in there. So I'll work on that. I will tell everyone this though. I love working with the velvet ribbon. I have never worked with it before. I think the only time I've ever purchased it was like whatever you would get from Joann or Hobby Lobby where it's got the wire on the edges. But this is like the legit velvet ribbon and it is fantastic. It is so soft and easy to use, and it just like, I don't know, it just adds something. Maybe that's me sounding really gay, but if the tiara fits. We'll pop this end in here. I'm digging it. Okay. So I think the trick with this is that you have to like bend them a little bit outward, and then every few inches you have to take one from the back and kind of, thank you, and loop it over the top so that you don't, not that, I mean, you're going to see this obviously, and real stuff would have a, some sort of a main support, but just kind of helps to hide it and make it look a little bit more full. Stop hitting me. You're crazy. Because I ran out of green ribbon, so I do have a cluster that I made. And I'm thinking I'll do these at the top of the stairs because I have the red cluster for down here. Enough. If you guys are following in my footsteps and you're dealing with this stuff, getting a pair of like nice fabric scissors is, I don't know why I never did this sooner, and I will only ever use these for fabric-y things, but like, these are amazing. It is like crispiest little line that you get when you cut with these, and I'm late to the game and happy that I joined. These little picks, I got these from Walmart, and they were like $1.50. When it comes to holiday decorations, for whatever holiday, I am not a snob about where I get stuff from by any means, because you never know what you're gonna find. And I didn't find these little things anywhere else. It was a happy little discovery. Up there as well. I'm trying to like bend them upward so it's not like an obvious, stick. No one's gonna be looking, so it's fine. We don't need to do a lot up at the top because the bells take up a lot of real estate. Down in the little nook. When in doubt, you can use a paperclip for things. You could also use a ornament, hanger hook, but I am out of them right now. Longer. That's good. Perfect. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of Decorating for Christmas with me at the estate. Please make sure that you move on to part 2 just so you can wrap this little adventure up and see what the final looks are. If you saw anything in today's video that you liked and want to do yourself, please make sure you tag me on Instagram at restoring_Sean. That way I can take a look at your work. And finally, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe below. That way you are reminded every Wednesday morning when a new episode drops, like next week when we have our first how-to of the season, which is creating the faux gingerbread village in my kitchen window, followed up the next week by whatever I did with my Christmas tree to make it look the way it does. Until then, take care, and I will see you soon.